Hi, my name is Darren Joseph from HCJ.tax, a team that demystifies that sometimes confusing world of international tax. And HCJ.tax is a part of Moore's role in Asia Pacific, which has over 30 offices as far north as Tokyo and Beijing, all the way down to Auckland, New Zealand, and all the way across to the Gulf states, including Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. So what I want to do now is share a clip from a recent Zoom webinar that we did as part of MARP. Take a look. Next up, we have Paula, who is going to give us an overview of a methodology that we've been discussing. Paula, over to you.
Hi, thank you everyone. I'm quite new to the tax world, but I'm happy to be here today. And I don't have a visual presentation, so sorry for that. I have some topics here, so I'll talk over it. First, I would like to focus in two points. One, it's the Global Financial Centres Index, which is this methodology that they use to measure financial centres. And second, what that means for the offshore jurisdictions in particular. The GFCI is one of the most used tools to compare financial centres, which I think most of you guys probably know that. And it brings together 140 indicators like infrastructure, people and skills, rules and regulations, growth of the financial sector, and it also includes surveys, answers from thousands of professionals around the world, which makes a very complete measure. And in my opinion, one of its strengths is that it gives an objective and structured way to compare global centres. They're very different in size and focus. And it updates twice a year. So we can see how centuries rise and fall over time, which is useful in today's fast-changing world. But of course, the GFCI also has limits, especially when you try to use it for ranking the offshore centres, because as the method is designed to measure the broad strength of the big global hubs like New York, London, or Singapore, and it gives high value to size, reputation, and ability to attract global talent. And the offshore centres, by contrast, they're very specialized. So they do not aim to be full global financial cities, but instead they focus on niches such as hedge funds, reinsurance, or company structuring. And this means that when the GFCI looks at offshore jurisdictions, they score appear lower, even if they kind of leaders in the area. I think this explains what it may look like a contradiction. For example, in this last GFCI, which was the 37, the Cayman Island is ranked at 860 worldwide. And at first glance, this looks low, but yet the Cayman Island is widely recognized as the world's leading offshore jurisdiction. We host not most of the world's hedge funds in central to private equity structuring, and is one of the largest bank centers by international assets. So the GFCI does not fully show that kind of dominance because it's not measuring the offshore market share, but it's measuring, like I said, overall strength compared to places like Tokyo or Frankfurt. So now I'm going through how the offshore jurisdictions are ranked and how it appears in the GFCI. So it's ranked as follow: Cayman Island, like I said, 86th position, then Jersey at 65, Guernsey at 76, Bermuda at 72, and the Isle of Man 97. And the British Virgin Islands 101. So when I arrange these, only within the offshore category, like I said, Cayman comes first, and so on, in the order that I just said. And each of these jurisdictions has its own profile. Yeah, so with all these, I think the strength of this methodology is that it gives us an independent and respected measure to compare the centres, but at the same time, the weakness is that it cannot fully capture the unique role the offshore jurisdictions play. So yeah, just to conclude, I think when we talk about the offshore jurisdictions, we must read with care the results that in my opinion.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. And I think it's quite insightful, because often, clients come to us and they're asking for a point of view. But then many of our clients are quite sophisticated, right? Oh, just to kind of provide some context for those who don't know Paula, she's a colleague of ours. She's based in the UK, a tax lawyer who's licensed in Portugal and Brazil. But I think if you can give an opinion, because everyone has an opinion, right? And I think when you would sit with a client and you use a robust methodology such as this, it kind of brings a bit more structure and gravitas to the conversation. So, and especially with this global financial index, I find it quite interesting, because it is used by, and it does factor in known institutions, the World Bank and the OECD and the Economist Intelligence Unit. But for me, most importantly, it's jointly published by ZN in London, as well as the China Development Institute. And I find that sometimes some of the discussions and some of the narratives are biased in favor of where the organization is centered. And this being a joint effort between so-called the West and the East brings a bit more balance to the conversation, I think. And I think that makes it quite interesting. And again, it focuses more on offshore financial centers, the definition of which I think they move with the IMF definition, which really is, when you look at the balance sheet, it is the institutions and the professionals within the jurisdiction are focused on serving clients outside of the jurisdiction. So, there are financial centers in many parts of the world, but I think so. Let's take for example, I don't know, in Manila, in the Philippines. In Makati, you have your financial institutions, but the financial institutions and professionals in that part of the Philippines, the capital, the Philippines, for those who don't know, they're focused on domestic issues and domestic structuring and domestic arrangements. Whereas if you take in comparison Singapore, tiny jurisdiction, and it's disproportionately focused on structures and arrangements and advisory for clients outside of Singapore, which makes it that's the offshore element. And I think this global financial centers index, it is quite interesting, in giving that holistic perspective, even though when you look at the ranking, and unfortunately there was no visuals, but it's easily available online, the top would be what you expect. So it'll be New York, London, Hong Kong, Singapore. And then, some of the other American financial centers as you go down the list.